remember 1994. I was going into my second year as the Jet quarterback and spent a lot of time at the Garden for both the Knicks and the Rangers. As a matter of fact, went to every Ranger home playoff game, and I think I made at least 3/4 of the Knicks games plus Game 7 in Houston.
Wow.
So, I mean, I was like a Garden dweller, to say the least, in 1994. And that, it's good. It's good that all these teams are in the playoffs, man. This is what you want. You want every fan engaged. And, last night for the Islanders, after their gift, I mean, it was bad enough that the Islanders lost in Washington. And I know that stung their fan base. It stung, of course, the players. I had talked to Matt after the game and everything. But, to see that Pittsburgh with Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, and Sidney Crosby lose to a bunch of guys that have been working at Safeway. I mean, it's like my Wasp hockey team. I mean, that's really a Chicago. Chicago's trying to be the worst team in hockey along with the Columbus Blue Jackets so they can get their hands on Connor Bedard, who will be the first overall pick in this year's draft. So obviously, the higher you finish, the more likelihood you are to get the number one pick in the draft lottery for the NHL. And the fact that Pittsburgh lost the other night was it's like amazing. But it just goes to show you that even last night, there were times where Montreal looked like they, had a chance against the Islanders. And Sorokin was great, as he always is. But, I mean, it's great for all of us. It's great for hockey fans. It's great for basketball fans. And even last night in the NBA, 2 road teams won.
Yes.
Listen, ESPN in this play-in tournament, I mean, they are like,
it's too much. Yeah, right.
Every time you turn it on, that's all they're talking about.
You would think it was the NBA Finals. You're right about that. You would think it was the NBA Finals. There's been some interesting stories in the play-in tournament. LeBron and the Lakers going overtime against his Timberwolves team that was absolutely in disarray. And then also last night, DeMar DeRozan's daughter, that is going to be the number one story nationally in sports today. Not for us, but nationally. DeMar DeRozan's daughter, who is screaming at the top of her lungs when the Raptors are making free throws. Now, obviously, it's DR DeRozan, and CBS Sports Network has some of her footage as she's there with her Sour Patch Kids. I believe she is 9 years old, and she's decked out in all the bedazzled Bulls stuff. And DeMar DeRozan, who used to be on the Raptors, now on the Bulls, and she's screaming bloody murder every time that the Raptors take a free throw, so much so that they were miserable at the line. They were miserable.
Yeah, and you think she had the effect?
She definitely did. There is no two ways about it. She definitely, they were like 50% at one point. I don't know where they finished last night, but she is just screaming. Every time they're lining, getting ready to shoot the ball. So that was a very interesting storyline. And then ESPN had highlighted it and then, jacked the audio up so you could hear it a little bit more. But so there's been some interesting things that have happened with the play-in tournament. But for us around here, the Knicks and Nets fans, and especially the Knicks fans, because the Nets are, I don't want to say happy to be there, but this is a young team that they don't expect to beat the 76ers. Like, here we go. We haven't had a lot of these moments as Knicks fans where you're fired up for a playoff series. 2 years ago it was a total dud, but you've now got a 4-5 matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers and the superstar that you thought you were going to have in the first round, and that's going to be just so very exciting to have playoff basketball back.
Well, the big question for the Knicks will be Julius Randle. Right now, he's listed as doubtful, and again, I'm just going to go out and say he should not be playing unless he is nearly 100%. I don't want to see him out there at 85%. He doesn't do anybody any good at that point. He has to be 100%, and he has to be able to run. He has to be able to jump. He can't be favoring that ankle. Like, this is an all-in situation.
Sure.
And, the one thing I will say, and I've been saying it, that, at least there's a lot of movement on offense. The defense needs to be a lot better in the playoffs, and maybe Thibodeau will get, better defense out of his players. And Donovan Mitchell is going to get his. And that Jalen Brunson is going to get his. Then the question is, where's R.J. Barrett going to be? Where's Obi Toppin going to be? Where's Emmanuel Quickly going to be? Because those guys are the guys, along with Quentin Grimes, that have to put up the points. But you also have to play defense. That's going to be the key for all of this. As far as the Knicks are concerned. If they're going to give up 135 points a game, forget it. They don't have a chance.
Right, especially against the Cavaliers, who are a very good defensive team, one of the best in the NBA. So that's going to be, Tom Thibodeau's teams usually play good defense. They haven't down the stretch. There hasn't been a lot of pressure on them to do so. So, maybe that is part of why they're giving up 130 points, in a couple of games towards the end of the season. But that's going to be really the story, is how much these teams ratchet up the intensity defensively, and the Cavaliers are going to bring it. There's no two ways about it. They're a physical defensive team, and they've got a guy in Donovan Mitchell that's capable of putting up 40 points every single night that he's out on the floor. So it's not going to be an easy task, but I think it's going to be a good series. I think it's going to be a long series. I don't see either one of these teams winning or 4 or 5.
I hope so. I hope
absolutely goes to 6 games, in my opinion.
And if it goes to 7 games, dude.
Yeah.
This thing is starting on April 15th.
Yeah, it's done in June.
If it goes 7 games.
It's ridiculous.
Game 7 would be on April 30th.
It's the dumbest thing ever. It's
15 days to play 7 games.
Ever. It's so, well, think about games 1 and 2. Game 1 Saturday.
3 days.
Yeah, Tuesday is game 2. Then we say this
to the 18th.
We say this every year with the NBA first round. It's just it is way too spread out. You get no feel for the series, and they just continue to do the same schedule every single year, and they don't seem to change. I mean, I guess they like having as many standalone games as possible, or games where you're not competing against one another.
To me, I don't know. It's just, maybe this is just me, but I'm thinking like the NBA fan wants back-to-back games, just like the NHL fan. I want back-to-back games. I want to be able to see. We still don't know the matchups yet in the NHL on the eastern side of the bracket, but man, I want to see back-to-back games. I mean, I want to be all in. I want hockey all the time. I want basketball all the time.
Sure. I mean, especially when you're talking about the first 2 games or games that you're not traveling. I mean, it's insane. I mean, think about the Knicks play on Saturday in Cleveland, and they got to sit there for 2 days.
Well, who says they have to sit there? They can come home.
Well, they wouldn't do that, would they?
Are they going to sit there for 3 days? I don't know.
They're not going to come all the way home and then go back.
All the way home. It's an hour flight, and they have a private jet.
I guess. I don't know. It'd be weird. It feels like that's a lot of travel.
Come back and practice.
You could practice there, can't you?
Yeah, but maybe you just want to practice in the confines of your own practice facility.
You tell me all the time that sometimes you're out there on the road, there's less distraction.
That's true.
Focused.
Well, I don't know. For 3 days, I mean, like if you told me they were going to play, a day off, I would say yes. But man, you're out there. So you're out there. You play Saturday. And you're going to be done early, so you'll be done before 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then you got Sunday, Monday to hang around and do nothing.
But it's not L.A., it's not Miami. Yeah, you're in Cleveland. You can't get in trouble that much in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, you can get in trouble anywhere,
You
man.
could, but not as bad.
I'm not talking about them getting in trouble, because they're going to be focused. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be focused.
It's just a lot of time, man.
It's a lot of logistics.
And in a way, maybe it does help that it'll give Julius Randle maybe another week.
Yeah.
And maybe he's the savior in this whole situation.
I can't believe you just said that.
But he may be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, I just want him to be 100% healthy. I don't want him to be Willis Reed. He doesn't need to be Willis Reed.
Right.
He because he's in his prime, and he's had a good season, and they have Jalen Brunson to determine who's getting the ball. I would just say he's got to be 100%.
Yeah, depending on how game 1 goes, I think that might determine how soon you see Julius Randle. Like, let's say they get trucked in game 1, the Knicks. Now, I don't think that'll happen, but let's say it happens. Then you might get Julius, you got to get out there.
I don't
care. You got to get out there. Like, this is the playoffs. You got to fight through it.
And here's what's going to happen. If that does happen, and that is a possibility, I'm not saying that it's not, because I'm sure he wants to play and he wants to atone for the Atlanta series. There's no question about that. But what I don't want to see is a guy coming out there with an 85% ankle and missing shots.
Yeah.
And taking shots. You know what I mean? It's like my man John Starks in Game 7.
Well,
stop shooting.
Yeah.
You got to realize either you have shoot or shoot. Yeah, but not in the last game of the season, for God's sake.
I know.
I mean, you're great. We love you, but you got to stop shooting. So that's all. I'm sure he feels the pressure that he wants to play. We've all been there, and all I know is that a hindered Julius Randle will hinder the Knicks. That's all I know.
Yeah, I think that most people agree with that. But at the same time, he is going to do whatever the hell it takes to get out there. And maybe you're right. Maybe the fact that if they had played game 2 on Sunday as opposed to Tuesday, he would have missed, just one game as opposed to 2 games. So maybe this wacky, stupid schedule does help Julius Randle out.
Maybe it benefits the Knicks. I don't know.
Maybe it does. But, and then I have to... I think I know how I'm going to feel either way if they win or lose this series, but it really depends on how the series goes and how many games it goes. But there's no doubt there's going to be legitimate frustration on my part and the Knicks fan base part if Donovan Mitchell dominates this series. It's just that is the thing I don't want to see.
Well, listen, that's why you have Jalen Brunson, you have Josh Hart, you have Quentin Grimes, and they're all going to have to play defense. They're all going to have to get their points. But, the rotation's been good. It's been fun since Julius has been out. It's been really athletic. It's been up and down the court, and it's been fun basketball to watch. I just hope that the defense can hold up their end of the bargain and the rebounding, of course. So I don't know. It's a close matchup, and you're right. I believe 6 or 7 games here.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, if we have another repeat, I thought that the Knicks had a chance to win in 5 against the Hawks a couple of years ago, and then the Hawks just crush them. But that was a series that a lot of people had predicted that was going to go 6 or 7. I think most people believe that this one can go 6 or 7.
But remember what happened in that series?
Trae Young went crazy.
He went crazy. Well, Trae Young's still going crazy.
Yeah,
he's just yelling at his coaches. That's all. And by the way, they may end up trading him.
Yeah,
I mean they got some issues down there with him.
They certainly do.
I mean it is, and they're not hiding it.
No, they are not. They ended up winning, their first play-in game, which was, keeps their season going. But yeah, there are some issues. There are also some issues in Dallas, and maybe Luka Doncic is the next superstar that shakes loose in the world of the NBA. And maybe he wants to team up with Jalen Brunson at some point again. But these guys there's always the next one. It's always, you think there's not going to be any movement, and then all of a sudden you get Luka Doncic, you get Trae Young, you get this, you get that. And I think the difference is we've referenced 1994 a lot. I mean, the difference between 1994 and now is the feeling of what these teams are capable of. Now, I do think that there's a lot of Ranger fans that think that they could win the Cup this year.
From my perspective, and when I think back to 1994 and I think to today, we had Mark Messier and Patrick Ewing.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, we don't have those guys on either one of these two teams.
Sure.
We have great players. We have some of the great players of all time, including Patrick Kane, but he's towards the middle back end of his career, and he doesn't look to me to be the same guy that he was obviously 10 years ago. But then again, who is?
Yeah.
But we don't have, for the Reign, we don't have a Messier. I mean, somebody was asking me the other day, like, if you were to pick your all-time starting 5 for the NHL, there's 2 guys that I know that I'm picking number 1 as a forward and number 1 as a goalie. I know who those 2 guys are.
Okay.
And 1 ain't 99. It's 11.
Okay.
I'm taking Mark Messier 1 overall as my first forward, and I'm taking Marty Brodeur as my goalie.
Okay.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Now, those 2 guys right there probably would win 10 cups together.
Well, absolutely. Yes.
And I just we don't have that player. We have a lot of good players. We have some really outstanding players like Mika Zibanejad's an outstanding player. He's a 200-foot player. He's unbelievable. He's undoubtedly the best player on the team.
Yeah.
Then I would say Adam Fox. I'm not counting Shesterkin because he's amazing. And then when I watched the Islanders last night, I know they're missing Barzal, and everybody wants Barzal back, but the guy that they need back is Alexander Romanov. They need their defense back. Their defense is like, coughing it up all over the place, and they're not hitting like they normally hit, and that's why they got to get that guy back. If they get that guy back, then all of a sudden maybe things change a little bit. Maybe they can steal a series here against either the Canes, Devils, or the Bruins.
Yeah, now just you got me thinking, forward and goalie.
Yeah.
For me, it would be, in the history of the NHL, Matt Martin would be my forward, and my goalie would be Ciccarelli, the goalie for the Wasps. That would be
Ciccarella.
That would be what I would do.
Paulie Ciccarelli.
Yeah. I'd go Matt.
I'll see
my team with Matty
I'll see
Martin.
him on display this weekend, so we'll see.
Give me Ciccarella between the pipes. That's what I need.
Right. There's a lot of, like, if you were to start a basketball team, you'd want you'd want Michael Jordan to be your first player.
Yeah.
Because he's a true captain. He plays defense. He scores points. He comes up big in the biggest moments. He's never backing down. That to me, that's Mark Messier on the ice.
Yeah.
It's the same way.
Yeah.
Same way. Now, he doesn't have the most points, but he does so many other things.
One of the great leaders in sports.
And he raises the level of everybody in the room. That's the key.
That is correct.
So we don't have that. And not really, none of these teams around here have that.
Not currently.
Not to that level.
We're talking about the winter teams.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they don't have that, what they like to me. So it's going to have to be for every single one of these teams. And maybe one day one of these kids over there at the Devils will turn out to be one of these guys. But every single one of these teams is going to be a mammoth collective effort in order to get it done.
Thanks so much for watching the video.
Please like and subscribe.
And don't forget to hit the bell so you're notified when we're dropping new content.